one day he was walking down the street in San Jose and he got jumped by um, 5 guys and he got stabbed 11 times and they crushed his skull open and he had that brain surgery and a metal plate put in his head.
Oh.
And I mean, he definitely had pain. So when the doctor stopped prescribing it, he went to the streets and that's where he found heroin and then eventually fentanyl. And I remember him telling me at one point towards the end that it was, Mom, I'm turned into somebody I don't like anymore. I don't like who I've become. And watching your child turn into somebody that they don't even recognize and powerless to change it, is torture. And I had to do a lot of writing about the fact that I'm not God and I couldn't save him. And I tried to say the right thing or manipulate him or buy him the right kind of G's. But it doesn't work that way. I think that one of the most painful things that I've been working through is that towards the end, I had tried everything with him except tough love. So in the end, I finally tried tough love. He'd call me and he'd, come pick me up, Mom. And the last time I talked to him, he was stuck somewhere and he was asking me to come pick him up. And, he said it was so bad and Mom, and I told him no.
Some people respond to the worst moment of their lives by going quiet, and some people respond by running, not away, but towards something, toward awareness, toward community, toward the belief that if more people just knew, fewer families would have to go through what they went through. Leslie Collins is one of those people. On July 24th of 2021, she lost her son Jolly, who was 22 years old. He was trying to detox and died on his 3rd night in a recovery home. The cause was fentanyl, the same poison that killed my daughter. It doesn't give people a second chance, and it doesn't care how hard someone is trying. Out of that loss, Leslie created the Jolly 10K, a Fentanyl Awareness Fun Run that is now in its 5th year. The event brings together education, community, remembrance, and the kind of honest conversation that can save lives. Leslie also brings something rare to this work, 14 years of her own recovery. She knows firsthand that there is life on the other side of addiction, and she is determined to help others find it. She's a mom, an advocate, and a living testament to the idea that grief and purpose can run together. Welcome to Grieving Out Loud, Leslie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
We got connected through someone that I met at a conference about the overdose epidemic and fentanyl poisoning epidemic, and I'm so grateful to meet you and to hear Jolly's story. Let's start off with his name because it's an unusual name.
It is. He's actually, people always ask me if it's a nickname, but he's the 5th generation Jolly. So it's like grandpa's, great grandpa, uncles, and so it's a family tradition. In the home, we called him Christian by his middle name. But yeah, once he got to school age, he absolutely loved it because he was one of a kind. So,
tell me about Jolly then, and was. But first, I want to know: was there a reason this name originated in your family, or maybe you don't even know?
I don't know. It's on his father's side, so I don't know where it came from. Yes, I know his grandpa was from Arkansas. He was a knife maker, and he was the first Jolly that I'm aware of. So
okay, and so tell me about your Jolly. What kind of kid was he?
Oh my goodness, he was one of the kind of kids. Even when he was a baby, he always wanted to see his mama laugh. So we'd go roller skating or rollerblading, and he'd look at me and he'd kick his butt out from under him and tumble because he was all padded up, of course. But anything to make me smile. And even as he grew older, he was one of those boys who always wanted to hold my hand. He bragged about his mama being the coolest, and he wanted to take me everywhere. And even when he got taller than me, he always wanted to hold his mama's hand. So he was
sounds so sweet and jolly. Of course you miss it. I'm sure you miss it every day. When did substances come into play in his life?
So I had left when I got into my disease. I had left him and his sister with my mom. And um honestly, I think that in a way he was trying to connect with me somehow. So he started smoking pot.
Substance use disorder often runs in families. While much about addiction is not fully understood, research shows genetics can play a significant role. That's something Leslie's family knows firsthand. Her father struggled with alcohol addiction, and Leslie says she first started drinking in sixth grade.
When I started drinking, I couldn't stop. And it progressed from harder things throughout my life. And I actually spent 26 years in my addiction. But today I have 14 years clean. But I had to go through every step of the darkness and the despair and the isolation. And I had to get to a place where there was all the doors closed and I had no other choice but to change because it was too painful to stay that way. And once I went into treatment, like I've never looked back. So I'm just super grateful that I had the opportunity because in the middle of the disease, you'd have no idea how to get out. Even if you're miserable and you want so badly to get out, you don't know how. So that's why I'm grateful that they have programs where they'll take you in and teach you a new way of life.
And how old was Jolly when you were able to get into recovery?
He was 15.
15. So he did experience your substance use disorder. How do you think that impacted him?
Um, I think that by me leaving when he was 8 and I'd come back periodically and I'd be high or I'd be chaotic and I think that it left him with an emptiness, like an emptiness inside of him that he was trying to fill. And then on top of that, what really started spiraling him is that when uh, he was in football and he had a spinal injury in football. So then he started going for pills, and then he got attacked. One day he was walking down the street in San Jose, and he got jumped by um, uh, 5 guys, and he got stabbed 11 times, and they crushed his skull open, and he had that brain surgery and a metal plate put in his head.
Oh,
And I mean, he definitely had pain. Um, so when the doctor stopped prescribing it, he went to the streets, and that's where he found heroin and then eventually fentanyl. And I remember him telling me at one point towards the end that it was, Mom, turned into somebody I don't like anymore. I don't like who I've become, and watching your child go turn into somebody that they don't even recognize and powerless to change it, is
oh.
torture.
Well, I want to, Leslie, I want to unpack what you said just now because it was a lot.
Okay.
It was a lot. So, first of all, you dealt with your own disease. And because of that, it impacted your children. And I'm not blaming you in any way. And I do hope that you don't blame yourself. Just as someone else's disease of the body would impact their children, your disease of the mind and the brain and the body, all of it, right? It encompasses all of it, impacted your kids. So your son also had the genetic predisposition, just as you had the genetic predisposition. That's something that's passed down generationally. And then to top it off, your son suffers a football injury and then this horrible attack that you just described to me. And I cannot tell you how many parents I have talked to where the addiction starts with a couple of things: smoking pot before your marijuana, before your brain is fully developed. We know how bad that is now for kids. Alcohol's not good either, but we know how bad marijuana, especially the high potency marijuana today, is on the developing brain. And then to
Right.
be prescribed opioids at a young age. Countless parents I have talked to have told me that is how their kids' addiction started.
Yeah. And then like with the social media today, that when he was 16, I was learning that he was able to order it
Access.
online and have it delivered.
Access. Yes.
It's like it's crazy that just delivered to the front doorstep and it's so easily accessible. And then with today's fentanyl being put in the pills and they can't tell and they can't smell it or taste it, or it's there's absolutely no way of knowing. So it's just a death sentence for our children.
Yeah, my heart breaks for Jolly because I feel like he had all the cards stacked against him, basically, for
Yeah,
survival. For
yeah,
survival.
mm,
Oh, I'm so
yes.
sorry.
It's and he was a really happy kid. It's one of the things that I love hearing is that, like, I knew that he was a happy kid and he loved, uh, he was always friendly to everyone as a child. But after he passed, I was able to hear from, people that he was hanging out with, that like no matter how bad they felt, he was encouraging them. It's always going to be okay. Stick it out. You're going to be okay. And then he also, like, being able to hear those things about him, and that you know, the last year of his life, there was 9 people that he had Narcan and gave CPR to until the ambulance came. That's how rampant it was around him. But just knowing that was able to save some lives, it just, it does a little bit of healing in my
I'm
heart.
sure.
But yeah, I do. I know that I know that it wasn't all my fault, but I did have a big part to play why he leaned towards drugs. But then there's on the flip side of that, it's after he died, the tormenting thoughts, I should have done this. I should have done more. If I would have not been an addict, if I would have got clean sooner, the tormenting thoughts come over you. And it has taken me a lot of work on step work and writing and prayer to forgive myself a little bit for what I blame myself for.
Yeah, I,
So,
I understand that. And I'm sure we all blame ourselves to some extent of what we did do, what we didn't do, how we responded to something. I just recently wrote a blog about how my response failed to my daughter in a time of real
mm,
crisis. So we've all, as parents, and show me a perfect parent, give me the handbook to become a perfect parent. But when you have the added issue of substance use, your own substance use disorder, I can imagine that there are dark places that you can go. Like, and so what did it take for you? What was most effective for you in coming to terms with, you can't change the past. You can't change what you did or didn't do as a parent when our kids were younger. But what did it take for you to be
mm.
able to kind of come to terms with that?
It's been a
It's
process.
ongoing, right?
Um, yeah, there was, like, I can still remember what it felt like right afterwards. Like, the it's like the reality cracks and my mind broke, you know? And there was a point that I can remember that I had a choice to make. Like, am I going to be angry? Am I going to, blame and be angry? But I did that for a couple days, and it was so dark and it's so painful that I had to scream out to God, like, I can't do this. Like, and I had a choice to make whether I was going to see God's hand in everything or if I was going to go towards the darkness. And I still today choose every day that I have to see God's hand in it. Like, um, and I had to do a lot of writing about the fact that I'm not God and I couldn't save him. And I tried to say the right thing or manipulate him or buy him the right kind of G's. But it doesn't work that way. I know as a woman in recovery that I can't fix anybody else. I can't unzip my recovery and pour it into somebody and they'll be cured. But as a mother, I thought that I could love him the right way. And that didn't work either. And it was, I think that one of the most painful things that I've been working through is that towards the end, I had tried everything with him except tough love. So in the end, I finally tried tough love. He'd call me and he'd, come pick me up, mom. And the last time I talked to him, he was stuck somewhere and he was asking me to come pick him up. And, he said it was so bad. And mom, and I told him no. I said, I can't come pick you up because you're just going to use again. I can't come save you, you know, and this you have to do on your own. And I said, go back to that treatment center and you sleep on the front porch if you have to. And you tell them that you're not leave. Your mom said you can't leave until they let you back in. And I said, okay, mom, if anything happens to me out here, I love you. And that was the last time I talked to her. Well, what I found out was he did go back and he did sleep on the front porch. And he told them, "I'm upset I can't leave until you let me back in." And they let him into the treatment center, and he was fighting, and he wanted to stay clean, and he was fighting for a different life. And but he was suffering and he was in pain. And on the third night, he went to sleep, and they found him the next morning. And what I know to be true is that there were a few prayers that I prayed the last year of his life. It was like, God, keep him alive long enough to choose a different path. And he did. He chose recovery. He chose to get clean. It didn't turn out the way I wanted, but God answered that prayer. And then I prayed that he would be surrounded with kingdom men who he would listen to. And he was. But he was surrounded by a bunch of men who prayed for him, and I believe prayed him into heaven. And then I prayed that, God, whatever you have to do to save my son, I trust you. And I believe that that's what had to be done, because there's no way of knowing if the pain that he suffered from the brain injury and the spinal deterioration would have ever subsided. So he may have always sought drugs. So I have to choose to believe that God saved him from, and I have to choose every day to see God's hand in it. Otherwise I'll go crazy, So that gives me calm and peace.
If you're a mom who has lost a child, I want to tell you about something close to my heart. Some dear friends of mine, mothers who have also lost children to fentanyl poisoning or overdose, are hosting the Sisters of Strength Warrior Moms Retreat this October 9th through the 11th at beautiful Wildwood Hills Ranch in St. Charles, Iowa. This is a weekend created by grieving mothers for grieving mothers. You'll spend time in nature, ride horseback, hike, paint, and create keepsakes in memory of your child, all alongside women who truly understand the depth of a mother's love and the weight of her loss. This weekend isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering with love, honoring our children's legacies, and discovering that even in loss, we rise together as warriors, as mothers, and as sisters. Please join us. You'll find the link and all the details in the show notes of this episode. I hope you'll consider giving yourself this gift. I thank you for sharing all that with us. And I think your faith is amazing. It's admirable. Not everyone can find that faith and the strength in that kind of faith. I know before Emily died, I was praying, and I was born and raised Catholic, so I was praying at one of the holiest places on earth, St. Paul's Cathedral in Rome in the Vatican. And I happened to be there on a trip, and it was a few months before she died, and I was praying that, she become the best possible version of herself, that I prayed God can use all things for good. And in a way, God has, used her death for good, but it was still very hard to accept the fact that this could happen. But I have to remind myself that it's also other people's actions that cause this, not just my daughter's action and being dependent on a drug, but also somebody had to put fentanyl in the drug that she was taking, which she wasn't seeking fentanyl at the time. It was a few years, before Jolly died. And it's so hard. It's so hard to live with these things. And I think the way that you've been able to frame it is a way that has to help you go on and help you forgive yourself, because so much of this, and while your own substance use disorder may have had an impact on Jolly, you didn't cause him to have a football injury and get prescribed opioids. You didn't cause him to be attacked. I mean, there's so much in the outside world out of our control going on that it's simply not just one thing or one factor, because there's lots of kids who grow up with parents with substance use disorder who don't develop it themselves, right? Who go in the opposite direction.
Like my daughter.
Right. So you have two kids from the same house, right? And so there's my touche, my case in point.
Yeah, she's always followed every rule. She's never tried anything. She steers away from anything that has anything to do with, smoking pot, doing
I've got other
anything.
kids like that too. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I always say, if I take all the blame for Emily's death, then do I get all the credit for for the kid who's not doing that? And I say that doesn't make any sense. So therefore, you and I as mothers are not in control. We are not in control, and we can't
Yeah.
take all the blame or all the credit for anything that happens with our children.
Yeah. They're their own independent human beings with their own thoughts and feelings, and we can guide or be examples, either good or
Right.
bad, but control,
And sometimes the bad
and
example
that's
makes kids want to go in the opposite direction. So who's to say? You know, I just it's just
yeah.
so you see parents who were not maybe as involved or as caring, as you were after you found recovery, whose kids, turn out great. They don't have these issues. And I'm not saying our kids weren't great, but they don't have the same issues. And you wonder why. Why is that? Um, but yeah, I think forgiveness of yourself, you did the best at the time with what you could do. And when you could do better, you did better. And I think we all need to think about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so,
Yeah.
following, Jolly's death, I mean, obviously you have another child, and tell me more about how you have coped with your grief.
I have a wonderful program of people. I have what I've learned in recovery is that no matter what you go through, somebody's already gone
Mhm,
through it. And so they can show you how to get
mhm,
through it. So I learned early in recovery that if I brought something to the group or if I brought something to my tribe, my circle of women, um, and I was authentic, then what I learned is that if I share authentically, then our hearts can connect. And if I have cover up and I'm just talking out my neck or whatever, it's nobody can connect with that. But if I'm authentic and genuine and I tell the truth and I express how I'm really feeling, what I'm really going through, no matter if I'm crying or snot coming out of my nose or if I haven't taken a shower in a week, because sometimes that was hard in the beginning. Um, like someone will say, you know what? Me too. I've gone through that. This is how I'm getting through it. You know. So I think being able to have an outlet to talk about it with people who understand was huge. Where I felt safe to bring any version of myself, any version of my grief forward, and they would love me and help carry me through it. Like that was huge for me. Um, I also one of my biggest fears in the beginning was that people were going to forget about him. People would forget that my son lived, and he was real high maintenance. He was like always wanted to dress nice, so he always wanted to be fussed over. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to fuss over him. I need to hear people say his name. I need you to remember that my son lived. He was here and he mattered, and we used to hike in the Los Gatos trails in the mountains from the time he was on a baby backpack till he grew up. We'd hike that trail together.
Have you lost a loved one to overdose or fentanyl poisoning? I'd like to invite you to share their story on our new Emily's Hope Memorial website called More Than Just a Number. They were our children, siblings, cousins, husbands, wives, aunts, uncles, and friends. So much more than just a number. You can submit a memorial today on morethanjustanumber.org. Because hiking was something Leslie and Jolly enjoyed doing together, Leslie chose to honor her son by creating the Jolly 10K and 5K Fun Run, held each year in Los Gatos, California. The event not only gives her a chance to keep her son's name alive, but has also grown into a space where people can have honest, difficult conversations about the deadly impact of fentanyl and addiction.
In the beginning, it was just a way to remember Dolly, and I got some of my core people. They helped me set up this little event. I went downtown Los Gatos and I talked to Willie Harmatz, who was a track coach at Los Gatos High School for like 30 years, and he organized the Damn It Run in Los Gatos for 40 years. So I got really good advice on how to create this event, and I also took tips from Lost Voices of Fentanyl, how they have their events, and they set up banners with photos and forever names and ages. So I took that piece. So I take pieces from all the people who that are doing really did something really well that I wanted to implement into my event. And so we created this event, and it's over the past 5 years, it's blossomed. And what started out as remembering my son turned into remembering everyone's loved
Right.
ones. We have, uh, I make a new banner every year because that's how many faces keep
Right.
dying, you know. Um, and we have the fire department in Los Gatos giving hands-on CPR lessons. We give out Narcan. We have one of my best friends is a licensed clinical psychologist. She gives little talks, and then she has meets you at the Narcan booth and for anybody who needs some counseling. I have one of my other friends is a director of support systems homes for 25 years. And I have different recovery homes with testimonials of people who've been on fentanyl and survived it and how their life has changed. And I remember this one year, I think it was the third year, where this woman walked up. She was an older woman, and she looked that look we have right after children
Yes.
die, that look in your eyes. And you could just, if you know that
If you
if
know,
you've
you
lost a
know.
child,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. She walked up, and I was like, I just walked over and held her. She just didn't know where to go, what to do. And nobody that she knew was could have that conversation. It was so uncomfortable in her circle. And nobody wants to talk about addiction or drugs or fentanyl. And it's kind of a taboo topic. And to be able to include her and bring her in the circle and have conversations with her and allow her to talk about her son and remember her son with her, that's what it's all about for me. Like now it's like it has become so much bigger than me,
Yeah.
and I think that's the beauty of it because I know today I understand that I'm not the only one who's suffering every day. We suffer, I suffer quietly today, not as quite as loudly, but it's still every moment of every day. And it's a way of a little bit healing, knowing that I can help you and let you know that you're not alone because me too, and I think that's a beautiful part of this run.
It sounds beautiful. And you're not wasting your suffering. You're doing something with it. You're finding a path for it, some place for it to go to help others. And I know exactly what you're talking about because when I first started Emily's Hope, my whole goal was to preserve her art and preserve her name for people because I felt like it was such a senseless death and I wanted to make sense out of it and her life meant something.
Right.
And as
Yeah.
we've grown the charity and as people have come alongside of me, it's so much more than just her. I mean, it's about so much more than even though our name has Emily in it. We have a website.
Of
Yeah,
course it does.
but we
Absolutely
have
it
a
does.
website, more than just a number. We have a support group for other parents. We really try to make it about everyone who has been impacted by this horrible crisis that many of us have found ourselves losing a loved one to.
And you're doing a wonderful job. I was looking through your website and all the different topics of the speakers that you bring in, and they're all so helpful in every aspect of, parents losing their children or what's going on in the community. So
Oh,
well
well, thank
done.
you. I would say the same to you. I would shower you with praise as well. I think anybody who steps up and does something out of the worst that can happen to a parent losing a child is to be commended, and that goes for you as well. And also, you made a choice. You didn't relapse. I mean, you could have relapsed. That kind
Mm.
of pain and grief. I'm sure that it couldn't have been easy to not relapse.
No, no. There were many times where I'm like, the pain was
Right.
so great. As you know, it's so great that I knew what would take the pain away, and not for
Right.
long, but at the time, it's like, I know that if I have a drink that I won't feel this way, but it doesn't, for me, it won't end with that. It ends in a real dark place and my daughter would never understand, you know, and getting through that, getting through that season in the beginning of, I have a choice to make each and every day, sometimes each and every moment, of, am I going to sit with this? How am I going to sit with this? Because it takes a lot. And I've seen several mothers who chose the
Right.
other
Me too.
direction,
Me
you
too.
know, you know, and I just can't see how that would honor my son in any way, and in the process of choosing to see God's hand in everything, like that I know that I'll be okay. I know that even though if I'm not okay, I'm gonna be okay. Like I will get through it, whatever it looks like. Because it's funny because there's this certain things that I know that God's hand was in. Like the the morning I got the phone call, I was my daughter had left 5 hours before, early in the morning with all her girlfriends. They were going to go see Justin Bieber in Los Angeles, and uh, when I called her, she left at 4 or 5 a.m. When I called her at 9 a.m. to come home, she was only 15 minutes away because her friend's car got 4 flat tires that
Oh,
morning.
wow.
So they were still
That
in
gives me the
town.
chills. That gives me the chills. Like that worked out like that, that she wasn't 5 hours away and trying to get home. And yeah.
Yeah,
And I always say the miracle really lies in, and you talked about your tribe people, but I say the miracles really lie in the people who have come alongside me, the people around me, the people who are doing the
yeah,
work with me at Emily's Hope, the people I talk to on the podcast, the people I've met nationally and locally. And that's where the miracles lie for me, because God didn't save our children. And I don't think it works that way. I think that when you're dealing with something really difficult, if you are open to it, the miracles lie in those that are around us and that show up.
yeah. That show up for
Hmm.
us. Even when we are not fun to be around.
Yeah, and even years later, that continues to happen for me. And I think as long as I'm making the next right choice and the next right choice, I think that continues to happen.
Because what I find is that I find that the longer it's been, that my head starts to tell me they're tired of
Yeah,
hearing about it.
sure,
Nobody wants to hear
sure.
about it anymore. Stop talking about it. And I because I have a great tribe and an outlet in my meeting in recovery meetings, that I'm able to say, this is what my head is telling me. And so I bottle it. I've been bottling it up, and then I explode with tears, and the beauty is they come up after and go, never stop talking about him. You're helping me by not seeing that by you getting through this, I can get through anything too. Like if you can get through this, then I can get through my feeling for the day, or my breakup or
Well, I'm sure you're right that many people do want us to stop talking about our kids after a certain period of time goes by. However, I always say I will never stop talking about it until this ends, until no more kids and young people are dying. I'm trying to work my way out of a job. I'm trying to end something. Most people are out there trying to start something, start a business, start something, right? We're trying to end something in whatever way that takes. And so we need to continue to talk about it in order for that to happen. Because if we go silent, crisis continues.
that's right. That's right. And that's that's such a good point because like when I for the event that one of the things that I love about the event is that I promote to bring people in from all different communities. Like there's some really nice neighborhoods, there's some less affluent neighborhoods, but everybody, like all the parents and the families, I want to bring them all together so that we can have for a safe place to have a conversation. Because too often it's like I said, it's taboo to talk about addiction or drugs, and nobody wants to talk about it. So creating a safe space to say, hey, this is what it is. You know, um, a lot of parents I've found don't know anything about it. Like when I'm passing flyers out or I talk about it, trying to explain what's going on, they have no idea what fentanyl is, that they're holding the hand of their little 6-year-old, you know? So being able to explain, fentanyl is what it is, how deadly it is, what it's happening in the world with it. Like, because if you're not affected by it, you're not really you may not be paying attention to you know, to the news or to how many kids are dying. You may not pay attention to those
Right.
reports. But, um, and I go into those schools like Saratoga High School and Los Gatos High School, and the kids are desperate to be able to talk about it. And they have questions like these high schoolers are like, they want to know if, this was a really good question. This high schooler asked me, he asked me that if he will get in trouble, like if one of their friends overdoses, or they're using drugs and they call an ambulance, they're afraid to call the ambulance because they'll think that they'll get in trouble. And the law, basically, they
Right.
won't.
They don't know about Good Samaritan laws. They aren't educated in all of these things. Yeah.
Right. They're fearful.
Mhm.
So the kid, they just leave their friends wherever and they die. So that's another factor. So being able to have these conversations about what fentanyl is, how readily it is, how dangerous it is. It's a huge, I think it's hugely important to be able to expose parents and kids to that, and we're able
Right.
to do
And
that.
that's why we developed our Emily's Hope K through 12 substance use prevention curriculum, because I just felt like we have to continue to educate kids and start at a young age with age
Yeah.
appropriate conversations and lessons in kindergarten. I mean, and all the studies show we've got to be talking to kids at a younger age. Part of that includes a parent
Yeah.
component, educator training in what substance use disorder is, and all of these things. And it's so important that this conversation be out there in every community and every school and every home so that we can
Yes.
save the next generation.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Absolutely.
for all that you're doing. When is your race coming up? When is that?
So it is every July. It's the third Saturday in July, but this year it's going to be July 18th. It's a Saturday. You can go to jolly10k.com to register and check out all the information. You can watch the video so you can see what we're really about, what it looks like. You can donate if you like, or just register and show up for our event. And we have raffle prizes that are donated. We have CPR classes. We get pass out Narcan. We have goodies and information to pass out. So I welcome anyone to just come join us.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a great time and also a great way to honor Jolly. And thank you
Thank you.
for coming on the podcast, sharing his story. I am so sorry for everything that has happened to him and to your family. But as I often say, I'm so grateful to know you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful that you asked me to come on this podcast. It was a wonderful meeting you.
If you'd like more information about the Jolly 10K and 5K Fun Run, you can find a link to the event's website in this episode's show notes. While you're there, we'd appreciate it if you take just a moment to rate and review Grieving Out Loud, and also share it with someone who you know will find these conversations helpful. Together, we can raise awareness about the fentanyl, overdose, and addiction crisis, help those facing it feel less alone, and encourage people to seek help when they need it. Thank you again for listening. Until next time, wishing you faith, hope, and courage. This podcast is produced by Casey Wanenberg King and Kaylee Fitz. Have you lost a loved one to overdose or fentanyl poisoning? I'd like to invite you to share their story on our new Emily's Hope Memorial website called More Than Just a Number. They were our children, siblings, cousins, husbands, wives, aunts, uncles, and friends. So much more than just a number. You can submit a memorial today on morethanjustanumber.org.